Well, the city of Philadelphia may be moaning over the Philadelphia Eagles. They will be moaning in due time in about 4 or 5 months when Joel Embiid probably flames out of the playoffs again. But nonetheless, Denver Nuggets, Philadelphia 76ers, tonight, the last two MVPs, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, who I have often defended, and then at the end of last year, I had to stop defending him because I love Joel Embiid, but he doesn't come up clutch in the postseason. I've never understood how good Nikola Jokic is because it's hard for me to understand how good he is with how slow he plays basketball. But I finally had to embrace it last year after the Denver Nuggets won the championship. Yet I think Joel Embiid is more athletic. I think at some points he can be a little bit of a better shooter. I love Joel Embiid. I think he matches up well against Nikola Jokic, but I think Jokic's postseason success now obviously trumps Embiid, excuse me, as we look here to this potential big man MVP showdown again.
Yes. So I think tonight we are seeing two of the top three players in the NBA right now, with Giannis being the other guy in the mix.
That's interesting. You think Embiid's a top three player in the league?
As of right now, yes, he is the reigning MVP. So you got to give him credit for that.
The funny, can I just say something real quick about the
Yeah,
MVP? Because I disagree about the MVP every single year.
sure.
Last year, I thought it was Jokic's best year because he won it 2 years in a row. He didn't win it. I thought he shouldn't have won it 2 years ago. I thought that year should have went to Embiid. I thought they should have flipped. To be
Okay.
completely honest with you,
Okay. And I hear you on that, but um, regardless, they both have won MVPs, you know, and I love it when these two play each other because both want to go right at the other. But the story of how when the 76ers have played the Nuggets in Denver, Embiid doesn't play and people try and make a big deal out of it. And I don't know if it's a big deal or not, but we are going to get to see the two of them play each other tonight. The unfortunate part, though, is the 76ers are playing on the second night of a back-to-back. I don't know why the NBA is doing this. It's the same issue I had with the Celtics Bucks game last week. I can get more into that later, but still. And let's not forget, about the other players for both teams. You got Aaron Gordon, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Jamal Murray, all key contributors for the Nuggets last season. And for Philadelphia, Tyrese Maxey has broken out this year. The James Harden trade was the best thing for him. Tobias Harris has had a resurgence this season. So Philadelphia does look like a legit contender, but here's the problem. Can they beat the Boston Celtics? Can they beat the Milwaukee Bucks? Can they get over their second round bugaboo?
no. Here's the problem with the Sixers. Can they get over the Philadelphia freaking sports curse that's happened in this city the last 5 years? Let's just start with a few of them. The Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series lose to the Houston Astros. A couple months later, the Philadelphia Eagles lose a heartbreaking, gut-wrenching Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs. Fast forward about 8 months later, the Philadelphia Phillies lose to that freaking Arizona Diamondbacks in the NLCS.
You forgot the Sixers losing to the Celtics in the second
Sixers
round.
lost to the Celtics and they gave up in Game 7. Fast forward another couple, the Philadelphia Eagles endure the biggest collapse in NFL history.
I like that you just completely ignored the Philadelphia Flyers, but they've been irrelevant.
I know nothing about hockey, so let's backtrack a couple years to when Ben Simmons and the Sixers lose to the Atlanta Hawks because Ben Simmons is afraid to shoot a layup.
That was I don't even know what that was.
Let's backtrack a year before that when Kawhi Leonard, number 2 at that time for the Toronto Raptors, makes the luckiest shot in the history of the NBA. Boing, 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 boing. Otherwise, that Sixers team moving on to play the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I'm going to be honest, I think that Sixers team that year wins the NBA championship. That team had a dog in Jimmy Butler, and that was the best Sixers team they had, and they should have won the title that year. After that, they haven't even been close to the championship. And that's what Philadelphia has to overcome. It's not just beating Boston or just beating Milwaukee or one of these other teams. It's overcoming the damn Philadelphia sports curse that all of a sudden has moved from Cleveland to Philly.
And just so you know, the Flyers haven't been to the Stanley Cup final since 2010 when they lost to the Chicago Blackhawks. The Flyers haven't really been good since then. They have made the Stanley Cup playoffs a few times since then, but they didn't really do anything in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So yeah, the Flyers, they're part of it too. But
okay,
let's get to the
what
other
about
one.
this? Is the Nuggets Celtics an NBA Finals preview? I'm gonna start here.
Go ahead.
As I've always said, the NBA. You know how I feel about the NBA now, as we've gotten more talent in the NBA than ever.
Sure.
I think the postseason is different. I think it's a 7-game series. I think the regular season sometimes is meaningless. Yet, despite that, history in the NBA shows if you do not have a top 3 seed, you are not going to be a championship team. This year, the Western Conference, right now, the top 3 seeds are the Timberwolves, the Thunder, 2 very young teams, and the Denver Nuggets. Over in the East, we obviously have Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia as that third team, I believe. And there's a lot of teams mixed in there, 4 for 8. Cleveland, the Knicks, Indiana, Orlando, Miami. So this is what I will say. Even though obviously the Bucks, they beat down the Celtics, you mentioned it. The Celtics were coming off a back-to-back. I think Milwaukee, and we both kind of said this at the beginning of the year, Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, they're starting to get their sea legs underneath them. I think Milwaukee and Boston are the 2 best teams in the East, bar none. I think Denver's experience in the West helps, though we know it's very hard to get back to the NBA Finals. Though I think if it's 1 year to do it, I think Denver has a real chance. I'm going to say this is not an NBA Finals preview. I think it's more likely, though, that Denver makes it than Boston. I think Milwaukee is going to come out of the East. And in the West, again, Phoenix, Clippers, Denver. If the Lakers turn it around, they're always going to be a dangerous team. Sacramento. There's a lot of young teams in the West, a lot younger than the East. We like the Cavs. They've been impressive without Mobley and Garland. Nobody thinks they're a championship team. We like Orlando. Nobody thinks they're a championship team. We like Indiana. Nobody thinks they're a championship team. I think if there's one team that could surprise you in the East, it's Miami. Though they've lost a lot of depth, I don't think that they are the same this year. So I really think it's a 2-team race in the East, and in the West, it's probably a 3 or 4 team race.
Right. You do make a lot of valid points, but I'm actually going to say yes. I think this is a finals preview. And if we get these 2 teams in the finals, I think it would be a fantastic series. I think it would go the full 7 games. I'm not sure who I would pick to win that series, but focusing on this game, we're going to have Jokic and Jamal Murray going against Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I like that we're getting all these dynamic duos in the league. We're kind of moving away from the super league, not super leagues, super teams and big threes. We're kind of going back to the dynamic duos and stuff, and I like that more. But yeah, the Celtics have been playing well as of late. I don't think they've lost a game at home as of yet. I would give them the edge over the Milwaukee Bucks right now, despite the blowout loss last week. And the reason I would say that is because look at the Bucks defense this season. Their defensive statistics have plummeted. I don't know if it's something with Adrian Griffin as their head coach. I don't know.
That's a good point. But also remember Boston, Joe Mazzulla, Do we know if he's a good coach or not? I mean, we really don't.
Right. And you do make a valid point there for sure. But he does have more coaching postseason
Yeah, by a year. I mean, it's not.
over Adrian Griffin
Yeah, I
specifically.
mean, it's
He has
not a
more.
ton. The
Right.
biggest difference of how we feel about the Celtics is one guy, and he wears the number 0.
Jason Tatum.
You're a way bigger Jason Tatum fan than I am. You know my take on Tatum. I don't even have him in my top 10 players in the NBA.
You're insane.
I don't think he's that guy.
You're
I don't think he's
insane.
that guy. I will name you 10 players right now off the top of my head that are better than Jason Tatum when healthy. Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, Joel Embiid, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic, Kawhi Leonard, Donovan Mitchell. How many is that? That 10?
No, I don't think so.
Jimmy Butler, I will absolutely take over Jason Tatum.
Not in the regular season.
Postseason, that's what matters. I'm taking Jimmy Butler.
Okay. And then I think you got one more.
Okay. This is where it gets tough. This is where you get a debate. Tatum. Could a potential, if he's healthy, Ja Morant be in the mix?
Heck no.
Devin Booker. Listen, Ja Morant's a top 10 player when he's out there in the court.
No, he's not. No, he's
not.
Yes,
he is. I would slide potentially Ja Morant in there over Jason Tatum. I think, you can make an argument for Paul George over Jason Tatum just because of his longer success. Listen, I think Jaylen Brown's a better player than Jason Tatum. I think that when the money's on the line, Jaylen Brown, when you need a big shot, who was the best player for the Boston Celtics when they were in that 22 finals against Golden State? It wasn't Jason Tatum. It was Jaylen Brown.
Do you remember Game 7 against the Miami Heat?
I already told you. Yeah, he got hurt. Whoop-de-doo. I don't care. They got blown off the floor. They were going to get blown off the floor because that team was dead because Miami had Jimmy Butler and Boston did not. I thought you were going to give me Game 7 against the Sixers, and I already told you that team quit. Just like you tried to tell me the Eagles quit, that Sixer team quit before Game 7.
Boston simply owns Philadelphia. The Celtics own the Sixers anyway.
I was going to say, does New England own Philly? Because the last time I checked, the last time we went at the Super Bowl, my offense put a 41 on Coach Enzo's defense. I've been owning this damn pencil for an hour because I can't stand Coach Enzo.